One of the most anticipated trips of the year was Pam's African safari in Kenya. Imagine using credit card points and miles for a safari, the ultimate dream of many. Her trip included a stopover on the island of Mauritius where things got interesting. Stay tuned to hear all about how Pam turned lemons into lemonade.
Welcome to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. We are three moms who've discovered how to leverage credit card welcome offers to get hundreds of thousands of dollars of travel expenses for nearly free. We've used credit card points and miles to take vacations to places like Hawaii, Paris, Greece, Maldives, Japan, and so much more. And the best part, we each still have 800 plus credit scores. Imagine being able to take the vacation of your dreams for nearly free. It's totally possible, and we're here to show you how.
Hey, I'm Jess.
And I'm Pam.
And Alex has the day off today. And so you're just going to get Pam and I for today's episode. But it is going to be a good one. There's going to be some sweating going on by me, I think, because this is a nerve-wracking thing that happened to Pam. All of us were so excited to hear about her stay at the JW Marriott Maasai Mara for her birthday. She was so excited about it. We were all excited to hear how she was going to pull off an African safari on points. Unfortunately, things did not go quite as planned. So, Pam, tell us all about how you planned this trip before you encountered this bump in the road.
Yeah, I think that this was the trip that I was looking most forward to this year. I mean, we've gone on an African safari before, and they're expensive, and we got a really good deal when we went before. But the Marriott Corporation opened up a JW Marriott in the Maasai Mara area recently. Brand new lodge, gorgeous. Everything I've heard about is amazing. And when they first opened it up, they had these crazy deals that you could stay there for 75 Marriott Bonvoy points a night. And that included a safari.
75,000, I assume you mean?
Yes. What did I say? Yes.
75.
75,000. Yes. So anyway, it was like, that is incredible. I could not even believe that a safari was included in this. So that included game drives and also, I think, a visit to the Maasai village. I mean, it was just incredible. So I jumped on it. I jumped on it quick because I knew it would go away. It is still available. I think the lowest that I've seen now is 108K a night. And that is still an incredible deal because safaris are super, super expensive. So I booked it. And I was just really looking forward to it. I had worked with a hotel on transport. They were great to work with. We were all set for our flights from Nairobi for $1,000 to and from for both of us and land transport. So like we were staying at a hotel in Nairobi and they were going to pick us up, take us to the airport, Wilson Airport, the bush plane in, the bush plane back, and then take us back to the airport because we were going to fly out that day. So it was really a great plan. They were so easy to work with. So getting to Nairobi, that was our first step. We went on Air France. And so it was from JFK with a connection in Paris. So first of all, we positioned to JFK the day before. I mean, when I'm doing a award trip like this that I'm so excited for, I don't want to take any chances that something goes wrong on my flight from Denver to JFK. So I'm going to get there the night before. And we stayed at the Hyatt Regency World Resort. And I used a free night certificate for that. Now, Jess had stayed there before and she recommended it. And it was great, but it is attached to a casino and it definitely has that kind of vibe. It's not a place that I'm going to go stay for very long. It makes a stay before a positioning flight great. But yeah.
I mean, I liked it because it's relatively new and it's clean.
Yeah.
And so I feel like as far as airport hotels go, it's like on the nicer side. I agree with you. I would not make that my final destination by any means, but I feel like for an airport stay, it's pretty nice. And you can, like you said, you can use those free night certificates there. So it can be a pretty good value.
And it is really close to the airport. So it's a quick, Uber ride over. So that was, fine. So our flight on Air France, JFK to Nairobi, was 95K flying blue points. And we flew then on Air France and we paid about $250 each in taxes and fees. And I thought that was a decent redemption. Going to Africa is a long ways. It's not, like going to Europe.
And I'm assuming that was in business class
It was in business class,
because
of course.
Pam doesn't fly internationally any other way. But no, that is actually like 95,000 flying blue miles is a steal for that long of a flight. And we like flying blue because all four banks transfer to them. And so pretty easy to rack up a lot of miles with them.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, honestly, Air France has become my go-to for a lot of travel to Europe. And, obviously here, they just have some really good deals. So we landed in Kenya after our connection in Paris. When we were in Paris, of course, we used the lounge. Of course, we used the lounge in New York City. And I have to say, the lounge in New York City, the Air France lounge, has amazing food. Our food was so good there. Really delicious, really nice lounge. And so really enjoyed that. So we landed in Kenya it was in the evening. And so we were spending the night at the Sheraton there. The Four Points Sheraton is really close to the airport, to a really nice hotel. It goes for 25K. And well, I'm not sure if it goes for 25K, but that's what we used. We used a 25K free night certificate. And it was really a nice hotel. They gave us a really nice upgrade. Breakfast would have been included because I'm Platinum Elite. When we got there, they had treats for me, which is always plus. What was a plus? So really, I would 100% stay there again. It was great. But we were leaving the next day for Mauritius because when I planned this, I decided that when we did the safari before, we did it out of Tanzania, and then we combined a beach stay in Zanzibar with our safari. So I kind of wanted to do that again. So we flew the next day to Mauritius. We were planning to stay there for 4 nights, and we flew Air Kenya, and I paid cash for that. And to be honest, it was expensive. It was about $1,000 a person, but I looked and couldn't find anything else. And I thought, you know what? I did pay to get to Africa. I'm not paying for any of my hotel stays. I'm just going to do this because I want to go there. The interesting thing is that in Nairobi, both coming in and going out, they have so many checks of your passport. Lee and I my husband, we could not believe how many times we had to show our passport, or put luggage through. I mean, they are strict there. And I know that talking to our Uber driver, he was talking about that they're near Somalia and that they're really worried about people coming over. And so I guess that's it. You also do need a visa when you arrive to Kenya. We actually had to get 2 each because we had to get one for when we came into Nairobi. And then we went to Mauritius. We had to have another one for coming back from Mauritius. So that's something to always make sure before you travel that you check and see what you need. Just Google it. And yes, Jess is going to tell us about when you don't do that.
So you're not like me trying to check into the lounge and they're asking to see your visa and you think they mean your credit card and they are like, no, your visa to enter the country, and you have to quickly try and get a visa. So yes, don't be like me, be like Pam.
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking. That's the deer in the headlights look for me. I'm like, what? And I'm trying to do it on my phone or something. Yeah, that's not something I want to do. So I'm always really prepared when I travel internationally to check and see whether I need a visa, whether I need some sort of form that I fill in ahead of time.
So the $1,000 to get to Mauritius on Air Kenya, was that for both of you round trip?
No, it was $1,000 each round trip.
1,000 each. So
Yeah.
$2,000 total. Wow. You must have really wanted to go to Mauritius.
I did. Honestly, I couldn't decide if we were going to go to Mauritius or the Seychelles. And I'm not sure why we ended up in the Mauritius versus the Seychelles. Although when I get to my story later, you'll see the Seychelles wasn't having good weather. So it ended up working out really good. So we got to Mauritius and we stayed at the Intercontinental, which is an IHG hotel. And it is gorgeous, really beautiful views. I paid 239,000 IHG points for that. That was for 3 nights, but the fourth night is free. And when we got there, we were upgraded to a king room view. I have diamond status, so we had free breakfast. Their buffet was amazing. Really I'm not a buffet girl, one of the best buffets. It's just, had tons of options. They actually had great food throughout the hotel, several restaurants, but I think we went to restaurants the first 2 nights. And then the third night, we thought, let's try out the buffet again for dinner. And that was my favorite place to eat dinner. And so we ate there the next 2 nights. And seriously, so many options. It was, international options, great desserts. Again, like I said, I'm not a buffet girl, but they did it right. And you'll hear that I became a buffet girl more because in Nairobi at the JW Marriott, there they had a buffet that was amazing. I'll talk about that later. But they have a fitness center. They have water activities that you can do for free. My husband went out with them snorkeling. They do water skiing, but he was going to do that. And it was the two, what do you call them? The two boards or whatever. And he goes, and he single skis. And he's like, I'm not doing that on the ocean. So, but that stuff is included. You do have to pay a $60 a night resort fee, but there's so many things that are included. The spa was great. We did go and have spa treatments. I've turned him into a massage guru. And so when I want to get a massage, he's like, oh, I think I'll get one too. So it was really a good stay.
Yeah, and I feel like 293,000 IHG points for 4 nights 239,000 IHG points for 4 nights is pretty good because sometimes IHGs can be pricey. And like you said, so if you are a card holder, if you have the IHG personal premier card or the IHG business premier card, you get the fourth night free on awards days. And so I feel like for both of us, IHG is probably our second favorite. Like after Hyatt,
Absolutely.
IHG is next. And so I think all three of us, Alex included, have an IHG card because that fourth night free benefit is like more than outweighs the annual fee for that card. And you get a free night every year on your anniversary. So lots of reasons to have an IHG card, but that is a huge one.
It really is. And so on our stay in Mauritius, we ended up paying $600 for that stay on top of the points, but that included our spa, our resort fees, and all of our food. So that was to be able to go 4 nights at an Intercontinental, which is IHG's premier brand, is pretty amazing. So it's not, we don't get things completely free when we go on these trips. You still have sometimes resort fees if you're doing some activities like, our spa, and then of course food. But that was not bad, at all, I didn't think. So it is next door to the Westin at Turtle Bay, and you could use points to stay there too. It's $50K a night there, and it looked really nice. But I was super happy with our stay at the IHG, and I would absolutely return to Mauritius, but I would travel the island. It is a British colony, so they drive on the opposite side of the road. So I would probably use, Ubers or taxis to get around, but they all speak English because it is a British colony. And so it makes it a really nice visit. And like I said, it was a gorgeous island.
So would you return to Mauritius as just your only stop? Like just US to Mauritius and then back, or would you always tack it on?
It's so far to go. I would always tack on something else. And I think that's why when we go do a safari, I tack on something else. It's just a really long ways to go and not do a couple things. But that's just kind of me, And if I'm not staying a week somewhere, I'm going to tack something on. So I get somewhere at least a week to 10 days. So I did have a mic drop moment the second to last night. So we are sitting there at our great buffet dinner, and I just open up my phone and I see there's an email from the JW Marriott, and it tells me that they've canceled our safari. And I mean, my heart dropped. I was like, you've got to be kidding. What are we going to do? How are we going to get home? Where are we staying? What are we going to do now? All these thoughts were flashing through. Luckily, I already had dinner, or I would have not had any appetite. So I'd had dinner.
And how long was it until, like, when you got this email, how many days was it until you were supposed to be heading there?
Well, we got it on, I think I got it on the 2nd. So we were scheduled to go back to Nairobi on the 4th, spend the night there, and then fly out.
So it was like 2 to 3 days before you would be arriving at the Maasai Mara.
Right. So, and the reason that this was canceled is they had extreme flooding in Kenya. We knew we were going at the rainy season, so we knew that was, they were going to have some rains, but it hadn't looked that bad. I kind of was looking at it, and they suddenly started having flash flooding, and it was crazy. I mean, we talked to some people who had been there when we were at breakfast. Once we got to the JW Marriott Nairobi, they had been there. We happened to hear them talk, and I went up and talked to them. There was an article by Gary Leff. I can't remember something to the wing that he
You're
writes.
from the wing.
Yes, and he had wrote, and Jess had sent it to me. And it sounded like, some of these people said they feared for their lives, that they were, in all this water, waist deep water. And, that's frightening because there can be hippos, crocodiles. Who knows what's in the water at that point?
I remember reading the article. Well, I think I was in either Tahiti or Bora Bora. I woke up, I checked my phone. I see a text from you that your safari is canceled. And I am like, what? I am so out of it. And I'm just like, what? So then I find this article about, with accounts from people who were staying there at the time. And I was like, Pam, thank goodness you were not there when it
Yes.
happened. I mean, the bridges were washed away. They had to charter a helicopter to come rescue guests. Like, it was a bad situation. I feel terrible for the people who live near there. I'm sure a lot of animals lost their lives. And so it is just a tragic situation all around. But I mean, I feel like it could have been a lot worse in a lot of ways. And I was very glad that you weren't there. I'm very much like, better to be safe than sorry. And I think at the time they had said that they were going to close for the entire month of May, but that has since been extended. And I think now they're not opening until July or August.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel terrible.
Crazy. These people that we talked to, I asked the lady, would you ever go on a safari again? Would you ever go back? And she says, absolutely not. She says, I feared for my life. We saw our lives flash before us. Now, everybody was safely taken out of there,
Right.
but they did tell me that there was a lodge below them that there was some loss of lives. They said that some of the staff just took off and left the people who were staying there to fend for themselves. The JW Marriott handled it very well. They, got everyone safely out of there. There was a tent that they lost, but there was no inhabitants in it. So it was scary. So, it was not great news to me to hear that we weren't going to be going on this safari, but I was glad that we weren't there. And, your heart just goes out to those people who had to experience that, and, people who lost their lives. So,
and on a lighter note, we did have a laugh about, if you've listened to our podcast episode where Pam talks about her trip to Tokyo and Australia and New Zealand, she and her husband also were not able to travel to part of New Zealand because of flooding. And so we did have a little light moment of laughter saying you are not allowed to bring your husband on these long trips anymore because obviously the flooding is following him wherever you go.
well, and the other thing is, poor Lee, he hasn't been able to go enjoy safari. Our safari that we did in Tanzania, he had kidney stones during it. He was in extreme pain. I mean, it was pretty ugly. So the friends that we went to said, he's not supposed to go on a safari, but we are going to try to go again because And I will give the JW Marriott another try. They have been great in handling things, and I just really want to do that. So we had to pivot plans, and so my thoughts were four thoughts. Where are we going to go was the first thing I had to decide. And I thought about the Seychelles, checked it out. There was bad weather. Thought about going to London to visit my daughter. Again, the weather wasn't great. We thought about going back to New York City for a few days and hit up some plays. Now, mind you, all of this is going to be over my birthday. So I'm thinking I'm not just going home. We're going somewhere. Well, Sardinia is a place that I've wanted to go for a while in Italy. It's an island off the coast of Italy. And I've wanted to go there ever since we did a coaching call for a girl that was going there. And I found this Hyatt Seven Pines, and I thought, that place looks amazing. I'd like to go there. So that's what we decided, is that we were going to go to Santorini. So this is where,
Sardinia.
what did I say? Oh,
You
yes.
said Santorini.
Sardinia. It's close, but no cigar. So Alex would love me saying those little sayings that I say. So we decided to go to Sardinia, and this is where I make lemonades out of lemons. So I had to decide, first of all, okay, we are sitting in Mauritius. How are we going to get back there? First of all, we need to get back to Nairobi. So we already had a flight there. So I start looking at flight connections because I want to see how we can get to the airport that's closest to where we're staying in Sardinia. There's two airports there. One is out of Oblia, and the other, it begins with the C, Cagliari or something like that. Well, Oblia was the one that was closest to where we were going to get to. So I started looking, what is a direct connection to Oblia from somewhere in Europe or anywhere? And I checked several of them, and finally it was Munich that looked like the one that would work best for us. We could get flights on Lufthansa, Munich to Oblia. So that was the first thing. So I knew we could do that. I didn't book it yet because I had to get us from Nairobi to Munich. And I found a Air France flight that would get us to Munich. And this was on a Virgin Atlantic site, though. And so luckily, there was a transfer bonus from Capital One to Virgin Atlantic. So things were really working out in my favor. So I transferred 113,000 Capital One miles to Virgin Atlantic with the 30% transfer bonus. It was about 150K. And so it was about 75K each to get there. And that's anytime I can get something for 70K around there, that's a great deal in my book. And so that's what we did. So then I had to look at I looked at Seven Pines. They were available, but they weren't available for all 4 nights of that we wanted to stay there. They were only available for 3 nights at 45K each. So I went ahead and booked that. And then I knew that I had to get somewhere else for our 4th night. So at this point, I'm booking all of those. So I'm booking them. Well, I take it back. I had to get us home. So I had to get us home from Oblia. Well, on Air Canada, and most of the stuff I'm looking at a search engine for, because I'm looking at a search engine that's saving me tons of time. Actually, Pointia worked great for me in this situation. And I found Air Canada flights for 70K plus $110 each from Oblia all the way to Denver via overnight stay in Montreal. And so I have everything, figured out. So I book it all, but I don't cancel any of my old stuff until I've booked the other stuff. So then I'm able to cancel the things that I had already booked, like our flight home from Nairobi to JFK, couple other hotel stays, and that's really the power in having a points and miles stockpile, is that I didn't have to wait till I got points back. I didn't have to worry about, do I have enough points to do this? Because I have plenty of points. And that was the hugest thing. This would have been much harder for me if I didn't have this great stockpile. And that's why you want to always, to me, it's like, I'm not going to apply for cards just when I need to get them for a trip. I want to keep applying for them. So I build up this stockpile because that's what saved me.
So I assume if you had told the JW Marriott Maasai Mara, like, I'm done, I don't want to reschedule, would they have just redeposited all those points back into your account? Do you know? I assume they would not have charged.
That's what they did. They did not let people reschedule. In fact, I said, hey, I got this at a great deal. Will you honor my great deal? And so far, they're saying we will let you book at the price that it is when you're booking.
Oh my gosh, that is frustrating.
I'm gonna push it a little bit more with them once they open because I feel like they should honor it at that price,
Yeah.
but they may not. But 108K, if I can find those prices, is still amazing for safaris.
All right. Well, let me know if you need if you need my Enneagram 1 to come out in any of your correspondence with them. Also, what about people? Okay. So if someone had booked on cash, do you know if they refunded them?
Yes, in fact, they say that they will refund my $1,000 that I spent on transportation. Now I haven't checked yet to see if that's happened. They have to do it through Air Kenya, and I need to look and see what credit card I did that on to make sure that's happened. I know that they are so frantically trying to work with people on canceling things and get money back that I'm kind of giving them a little grace,
Right.
and then I'll check and make sure that that gets done. So, anyway, I also want to say that in looking at Air Canada coming back, I got all the way back to Denver for this, which is amazing. Didn't have to do any repositioning. I have found that if you want to fly out of or fly into a Canadian airport, there are some good deals. I can find 70K deals, quite often. And so that's something that I, would recommend people look at. I spent my last day in Mauritius the entire day and that night doing this. It was not, a ton of fun. And on our flight from Munich to Montreal, there were a ton of empty business class seats. So, and that has been my experience when I have positioned out of a Canadian airport that they don't all fill up. So that's kind of my go-to now to kind of look at flights out of the Canadian airports.
And then all your original flights you had booked on points, like all your original flights, when you
Right.
were going to be, did you get all those miles redeposited?
Right away. And my taxes and fees. And that is the beauty traveling on points and miles.
It just gives you so much peace of mind.
So
I feel
much.
like, because obviously this is not something you could have ever imagined happening. You were already in Africa. It's not like you were at home in Denver and you got the email saying, we have to close, your thing is canceled. Like, you're already in Africa. You're on Mauritius getting this email. And so, yeah, it's just not something you can ever predict. And there is so much peace of mind with being able to just cancel and get those taxes and fees refunded and the points redeposited.
Absolutely. So I had 3 really good days in Mauritius. And then one day that was, very busy, changing things around, but I had a beautiful view of the ocean while I was doing it. So, I had it. So we were going back to Nairobi anyway, and we were staying, I think we were staying 3 nights there before we took off to the JW Marriott Maasai Mara. And so I think I cut one night out, the last night out, because when I was looking for flights out of Nairobi, I couldn't get them until I think it was the 5th. And so we needed to spend 2 nights there. We had already planned to stay at the JW Marriott Nairobi. It is my favorite Marriott hotel at this point. It's brand new, for one thing. It is only 37K a night, which is an amazing value for a gorgeous, absolutely beautiful hotel. We got a room upgrade. Breakfast was included because I'm Platinum Elite. The service there is unparalleled. It was just amazing service. So we were there for 2 nights. So we decided that we would do 2 tours. So we did a tour of the city. It was a walking tour. It was really interesting. And then because we weren't able to go into the safari. There's a tour that will take you into Kenya National Park, which does have wild animals there. They aren't fed. It is, free. It is wild. It's amazing how close it is to the city. But we didn't see any lions, but we did see rhinoceros. We've never seen a rhinoceros, so we now can say we've seen the big five. We saw lots of giraffes, lots of antelopes, lots of Cape buffalo, zebras from a distance. So it was nice. We did see some animals. Doesn't it all make up for safari? Isn't it all the same thing? But, it was a nice way to spend the day. So then, like I said, talking about dinner buffets, the dinner buffet at the JW Nairobi is amazing. I had to go up to the food manager there, the manager there, and I said, "This is the best buffet I've ever had." It was the best salads. It was the best seafood. It had Indian food. I love naan. It was really incredible. And like I said, we are absolutely going to go back and redo our safari. And I can't wait to go to the JW Marriott Nairobi again. So if you're ever in Kenya, stay there. There is a Hyatt Regency that's new down the road, but we had talked to people who had stayed there and come back over to the Marriott because they said it's not ready to open. It's brand new and things were insane there. Like they didn't have any food and they were feeding them some soup and the lights were going on and off. So check that out if you're going there and make sure that that's up to par. So once we were through with our stay in Nairobi, we headed to Sardinia and we're staying at the Hyatt Seven Pines on Points. And I was so, so excited about this hotel. It is a gorgeous hotel. Reception was amazing. We got an amazing room upgrade. It was kind of two rooms, our bedroom, then it had a little courtyard and then kind of a little casita where there was another TV and the couch and a sink and a mini bar. It was, just a really, gorgeous, gorgeous place. But we had some hits and misses. And I'd say that it is the off season for them. They really don't start until June 15th, and that may be part of it. I'll say the service was pretty amazing. Everybody was, helpful. Our biggest problem is we went to dinner the first night at this renowned pizza place they have. Waited 2 hours. We're thinking, what in the world are we not getting our pizza for? So my husband finally went up to the guy and he said, "Oh, what was your order?" He didn't even know what we had ordered. So they just opened this restaurant. They were not ready for that. It was a mess. We finally went back. My husband went up and talked to reception and said, "Is there a place we can order food?" They sent us some pizza. The manager came the next day to our place and said that he was so sorry about everything, offered to get us some champagne. We said we don't drink. He gave us virgin mojitos. And then he comped our meal the next night, which was amazing. And after the dinner, they came with a little bag after dinner and gave us some really nice virgin olive oil, some balsamic vinegar, some crackers, some pasta, all in a little thing. They were bent over backwards to make up for this. We saw Luca, the manager, everywhere we went. He came up to us all the time. He was so friendly. I mean, it was almost to the point where it's like, can we please not see Luca? So this is overkill.
Was the pizza thing the only miss? Like, were there any other issues?
We had someone say that they were going to change out the alcohol they brought to our room because they brought some alcohol and some great, appetizers. And she never did that. There were a couple strange things, but I'll tell you, somehow they knew that they had made mistakes because when we were at dinner on the comp night, the guy immediately, he brought our food. He says, "Yes, I just wanted to get this out to you right away so you didn't have to wait." And I'm going, "Oh yeah, they know who we are." And my husband had it made a huge thing, I think they were just very aware. And we weren't the only people that had gotten messed up because my husband worked with someone in the fitness center. He says, "Oh yeah, I hear it was a mess that night at the restaurant." And so I'm sure other people were getting treated special because so you know what? I can recognize that sometimes a hotel makes a mistake. What changes and what matters to me is that they make up for it, that they accept responsibility and then they say, we're going to do some sort of retribution. And when they do that, I'm fine with that. I would return there. I think it has amazing potential. It is a gorgeous place, and I would go back. But I would probably go more in the season. I'd probably go in June or September. It was just a little bit cold, too, so we didn't. I'd like it to be a little warmer. The other thing is I wish that we had rented a car. We didn't. We used transportation to and from. And I wish we'd rented a car because it is just, it's very easy to get around there. You drive on the right side of the road. And there is so much more to see of Sardinia. So I would go back and I would stay a few nights in several different places. And I would love to go back there. Now, the last night we had to figure out where to go. So we decided to go back to Oblia, which is where the airport is. And there was a Marriott. It's called a Marriott Delta. And we used a free night certificate to stay there. And it was pretty basic. It's a great airport hotel, but nothing too exciting. They did upgrade us to a suite. Not that it was super exciting suite. They did have kind of this little lounge area. They called it the pantry. And it was just kind of an odd little place to go get your snacks. Nobody was in there. They had this cute little turquoise fridge that had sodas and drinks and, some stuff. But the thing that I did end up really loving about that stay is that we decided to walk into Oblia, and it is charming. So we walked to the city center, and it had all the feel of Italy for me. The cute streets, the cute buildings. We stopped somewhere and got pizza, and then we went and got gelato. And that to me is, just quintessential being in Italy. And I just had that, oh, this is Italy feel. Although even, everywhere, I mean, it feels like in Sardinia, you've got the little villages up on the hillside. You've got the green trees that are particular to Italy. And it was really, really gorgeous. And so I was really happy that we had done that. But there are tons of little towns around the island of Sardinia to visit, lots of areas to go snorkeling, to go to different beaches. So and I probably will return to Sardinia, I will plan a longer trip. I will rent a car and I will go out and check all of those, buildings. So all those different villages. So yeah, while we were there, it was, kind of a let's just chill vacation. It was my birthday there. They were amazing. They brought me balloons. They brought me a cake, and seriously, probably one of the best cakes I've ever had. And so all in all, our trip to Sardinia was a great success. And although we didn't get on that African safari, we had a great time. And I saw another place that I hadn't been. So it all turned out great.
That is amazing. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode all about Pam's trip that turned from an African safari to a Sardinian beach holiday. This mishap would have been so much worse if she had used cash for this trip instead of credit card points and miles. One of the beauties of points and miles is the ability to pivot and make lemonade out of lemons. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave us a review. We appreciate your support so much. Thanks so much for listening to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Mom Squad. We can't wait to see where in the world points and miles take you.